Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Pitch Side podcast. I'm your host HOD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and enable notifications to receive all the updates from the episodes of the podcast and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media and listen on any podcast listening platform available. Welcome to episode 55. Surely there's only one place to properly start this episode, the last weekend review episode of the season. It is the Premier League, of course, and now we know who are the champions and who are the relegations, the relegated teams and stuff. First of all, congratulations, of course, to Manchester City, the champions of the season 2021-2022. After defeating, on the final day of the season, defeating Aston Villa 3-2, in a very dramatic scenario. Of course, the game played out to have. Liverpool, on the other hand, they defeated Wolverhampton 3-1, but it wasn't enough. We talk about the two games in one simply because they are, of course, linked to each other. The City game, I thought everybody was. The Liverpool game was important, but I think everyone was more focused on the City game because the big surprise would be if City lose the title from here. So definitely the scenario was all about City trying to avoid that, those bad moments that they had against West Ham. But unfortunately for them at the beginning, they couldn't. The first half was pretty much straightforward. The whole game was straightforward. You have Aston Villa defending, City attacking, trying to finish things early, but they couldn't. They couldn't score early. The Aston Villa defense were absolutely crucial in terms of blocking and not allowing City to find spaces when they want to find. And they weren't dragged out by the movement of City. That's what I'm going to say. They weren't dragged out by the movement of the City players who try to force the issue, to open up the spaces. Of course, the defense was a little bit shady from City because of the absence, of course, of the likes of Walker and Diaz. But Stones returned, played as a right back, and Cancelo played on the left. That gave a little bit of depth, although considering that they conceded 2 goals in this game, and the 2 goals were, I think every one of them was like, John Stones is at fault for the 2 goals, I suppose. Like, he's not a natural right back, so his ability to track back and cover is not exactly the greatest. And also in the second goal, he was absolutely done dirty by Coutinho in that second goal. Manchester City conceded 2 goals, as I said, in a stupid manner, I suppose. And they made the game hard a little bit, but obviously football really rewards the brave. Guardiola made the absolutely smart change of taking Bernardo Silva out, getting Gundogan in, because Gundogan is, one of his, let's face it, he was one of the best movers. Not exactly the most technically gifted player, but one of the best players to move in the spaces and all that. He has a great IQ and knows how to find spaces in the box, and that's what he did. In the space of 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes, he changed the game. He scores twice. And, settles the deal for City 3-2. With the memories of Queen's Park Rangers in 2012, he does it and he scores the 2012-2013 season. He scores the 3rd goal and gifts City the title as a party and gift almost for him, because the reports are that he's leaving the club at the end of the season, when his contract expires, of course, as a party and gift, which is a good party and gift and a good memory, really, to leave a club like Manchester City with. So that game, on the other hand, on the other part of the equation, Liverpool were really struggling against Wolves. It was a bad start already for Liverpool. They conceded very early, 3 minutes in. Pedro Neto makes it 1-0 for Wolves, and obviously that sets the tone, that sets the emotions of the game. It was going to be a one-side scenario. Liverpool going to be attacking with all of their might, looking to equalise and win the game. And then, of course, Wolves would try to defend that. And, they didn't last long in terms of, the clean sheet. Wolves, they conceded in the 24th minute, thanks to Sadio Mane. Then, in the second half, James Milner went down injured, or came in for the injured Thiago, which is a bad sign before the Champions League final that we're going to talk about, obviously, in later episodes. Salah made it 2-1, Robertson made it 3-1, but the 2 goals were after City scored the third goal, and one of the, I don't know, maybe the funniest but also the darkest moments of the season for Liverpool maybe is when Salah scored the goal, the second goal. It was absolutely ballistic in his celebration. He thought that the result was still 2-0, but the Liverpool fan, I mean, his reaction was gold, absolute gold, when the fan in the stands told him, he waved him with his hand, and that the score is 3-2 on the other hand for City. I mean, it was disappointing, but same time hilarious, I suppose. So overall, it was a great title race between the two sides. Liverpool did their job. They didn't exactly lose it. I mean, not today at the very least, or not yesterday. They didn't lose it on the final day. They lost it in the results that they had early on in the season. Those draws against City, the double draws against City, the double draws against Spurs, the double draws against against Tottenham, the losses against Leicester, probably those kind of results that set you on a bad tone and a bad motion for the season. But definitely, they're not big, in terms of losing points. They're not big. They ended up with 92 points behind City with 1 point. The record is almost, almost very close. 29 victories for City, 28 for Liverpool, 2 losses for Liverpool, 3 for City, in fact. But it is the draws where Liverpool, of course, have draws more than City. They have 8 draws more than City. Probably if they won even one of the games that they drew, we'd probably be talking about another champion for the Premier League right now. We've been talking about a whole different story maybe for this title race. But of course, if my aunt has wheels, she would be a bicycle. So we're not going to go down that hypothetical road. Salah, at the very least, ended the season with a good with a good award, or with a good reward, let's say, by being the joint top scorer of the season alongside Heung-min Son. Cristiano Ronaldo finished third in that regard. So overall, it was a great title race, at least for the last 2 months and 3 months, because at January everybody thought, you know what, this league is over. City are leading 14 points in. Liverpool came back. City dropped points when they didn't need to. Liverpool came back, made a good run, made an unbelievable form of matches. Liverpool to come back at City and to find themselves in the position where they're in at the moment. The draw against Spurs probably was the slip they didn't need in terms of the title race. The draw against Spurs at Anfield was probably the difference, the defining difference, or the defining moment maybe, where everybody was like, okay, Liverpool lost the title here, to Manchester City, who, on the other hand, had an unbelievable season themselves. Again, great form, great numbers, strongest attack, strongest defense joined with Liverpool. So it will definitely be one of those seasons that we will not forget in terms of competition. And we're probably going to have another one next season with City buying Haaland. Liverpool surely going to try to counter and respond with some signings of their own. And it will be another incredible season in the Premier League as usual. So we were always waiting for that to happen. Let's go now by the standings, since it is the last round. Let's go, according to the standings. So we go to Chelsea third. Of course, all the games were played at the same time, so we don't need really to chronologically go through the games. Chelsea third, nothing to play for really. They played against Watford. The game was 2-1, pretty basic game, pretty pedestrian result. It was an opportunity for Chelsea to play some of the fringe players, Saul Niguez and Kennedy. We're starting Azpilicueta and Rudiger, potentially their last games for the club. Rudiger surely is going to be his last game for the club, because he left, or his pre-contract is signed with Real Madrid and is going to finish the signing in the next few days. Ross Barkley came in, a wild Ross Barkley, I suppose, but Chilwell returned in the last moments of the game, which is a good sign for next season. Malang Sarr came in as well. Probably the future of the club is going to be the likes of Trevor Chalobah. They have to rely on Malang Sarr, I suppose, if they don't buy any big names, and that depends on the takeover, of course. It depends on the new investment of the American new owners in the club and what they're going to bring. Kai Havertz scored, the first goal. Ross Barkley came in with the second goal, and Watford in between scored the only goal that they had with Dan Gosling in the 87th minute. Watford, of course, officially relegated alongside Norwich and Burnley. For the top 4 places, of course, we're going to talk about Spurs and Arsenal. Both sides won 5. Tottenham beat Norwich City 5-0. It was expected, really. Nobody expected Norwich to beat Spurs. Son Heung-min, 2 goals on the day to again become the joint goal scorer of the season. Joint goal boot winner alongside Mo Salah, who is the top assister, of course, of the season. So that's why he took the golden boot, because he has more assists than Son. Spurs defeated Norwich 5-0, as I mentioned. Great game for them. They confirmed their place in the 4th position next season, Champions League football for them. Antonio Conte surely now has enough leverage, I suppose, to press the Tottenham board, to buy him new players, to press Daniel Levy to buy him new players, which is much needed, I suppose, at the moment. Arsenal, on the other hand, ended the season with a result that didn't mean anything in the grand scheme of things against Everton, 5-1. It was just a good exercise, probably, for some players. It seems to be that Edward Nketiah, Gabriel Martinelli are going to be the future of the club next season, unless they bring new signings as well, but it seems that the project of Arteta is clear. Although a lot of people give Arsenal slack for not making it to the top 4 and not being in the Champions League next season, but I think from where they were at the start of the campaign, I genuinely believe that this is a big accomplishment. The fact that they are in a European position and not really that far from Spurs, like 2 points of difference. Yes, it will feel bad for Arsenal because they had higher hopes than that at certain points, but overall, I think they will take a lot of positives in this season. I'll tell you a team that will not take positives in the season. Of course, first of all, congratulations to Everton, just to mention, for surviving. A side, as I mentioned, that didn't have, a lot of positives to take on from the season is Manchester United. And probably the only positive that I would think about from the game against Crystal Palace is the fact that our Tunisian boy, Hannibal Mejbri, started the game. He played about 55 minutes and then he was subbed on for Juan Mata. I mean, he did decent, I suppose. It's not, the greatest of performances from Man United, not the greatest of seasons, really, to judge the progression of him as a player. He had a couple of minutes against Liverpool in a game where they were completely and utterly destroyed. A game like this where, if it wasn't for West Ham losing against Brighton on the other side, they would have been playing in the Conference League, which have been a shambles and a disaster. 1-0 against Crystal Palace, another bad defending from Man United again, and certainly next season should be a season of revival for the club, with Ten Hag coming in, and certainly some players will be bought, some players will be sold. Obviously there will be a big overhaul in the club, so we're all hoping that United quickly come around and come good, because we need more contenders in that title race. We cannot have it between 2 teams every season. Chelsea went out of the race this season. We need other teams at the club of the title race contenders. I mean, just an information on the side, United spend more days on the top of the Premier League than Liverpool. United spends 14 days on the top of the Premier League than Liverpool, who spent only 11 days at the top of the table. It's crazy, I know. West Ham, as we mentioned, they lost to Brighton away 3-1. They were leading 1-0 in the first half thanks to Antonio, but the second half from goals from Joel Veltman, Pascal Gross and Danny Welbeck in the 90 plus minutes made 3-1 for Brighton. Brighton finished 9th on the table, which is a great finish for them, and of course I think a vindication for Graham Potter, a man who really did some great work with Brighton Hove Albion all across all the season. Great results as well for him, particularly away from home. Like, their record away from home is absolutely incredible. They're 5th, in fact, in the table of away record. They have 29 points away from home. Of course, that's more than Arsenal, that's more than Wolves, that's more than West Ham, and more than Man United, who are, of course, all above them on the table. Then of course we move on to Leicester City. Finished the season with a great victory over Southampton 4-1. West Ham will play in the Conference League. As we mentioned, Leicester City defeated Southampton 4-1. Then we have Newcastle defeating Burnley 2-1. Brentford losing to Leeds United. Leeds are the third party or the party that will be surviving the season alongside Everton. Burnley are down, which is probably good news for a lot of people because they hate their football anyway. So overall, that's what happened in the Premier League last day of the season. Congratulations for City on winning the title, for Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham for qualifying the Champions League, for Arsenal and United in the Europa League, West Ham for the Conference League. The relegation teams are Burnley, Watford and Norwich, and the survivors are Everton, of course, and Leeds was a great season to watch in the Premier League, and hopefully we have a similar one next season. Surely we're going to have an unbelievable ride next season. We expect the return of United, hopefully with some signing. We expect Chelsea to be better with the new owners and stuff, and hopefully the Premier League will always be great. We will have, of course, a sort of a review or a recap of the season on Thursday. We're going to do a whole recap for the 4 leagues this season, but until then, congratulations for City, as I mentioned. The celebration were wild and they have the right to celebrate, and again, it was a great season to watch. To Italy and to Serie A, of course, and the last day of the season as well in Serie A, the last fixture of the season. Congratulations, of course, for AC Milan, who won the title, the Scudetto, for the 19th time in their history, of course, after defeating Sassuolo away from home 3-0. It was a pretty easy game for them against Sassuolo, 3-0 at halftime. Olivier Giroud twice with the goals, Rafael Leao with 3 assists on the day to make it 3-0 for Milan, and finished the job basically since the first half, because Milan were absolutely adamant to finish the job in the first half, and they were really enthusiastic about the game. They did just that, and they beat Sassuolo 3-0 in Reggio Emilia to finish the job, win the title, a title that has been a decade in the making. Absolutely, great scenes in Reggio Emilia. I think if you're neutral, you're really happy for Milan, who finished the season on a high, really. And from the start of the season, from even last season, we were saying Milan were almost there. Next season, it will be really good. And Milan winning the Serie A is absolutely vindication for Pioli, who at certain point of the season, I mean, not even a season, it was like 2 years ago, he was about to be sacked. Then COVID came around, they stuck with him. There were rumours about Ralf Rangnick coming to Milan. Imagine what would have happened if Rangnick came there. I mean, it's a big what if. But they stuck with Pioli, they stuck with their guns, and look what they have now. They won the Serie A for the first time since 2011. And Ibrahimovic in person, I think Ibrahimovic as well, really deserves a tip of the hat for being a player that helped the team in more ways than not. His apparently is going to continue for another year, but it's going to be more of a like half player, half half board member kind of role for Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and we'll wait and see. He doesn't want to retire. I don't think he will want to retire. He said that he will retire when Milan win the Serie A, but I really doubt that will happen anyway. But again, Milan absolutely deserve it. Like, the game itself doesn't have a lot to talk about, but it's all about congratulating AC Milan on their Scudetto win. On the other side, their Milan rivals Inter struggled in the first half to win against Sampdoria, but their win was futile anyway. 3-0 against Sampdoria, a victory that tastes really bittersweet at the moment. But I think that game against Bologna, where they dropped points, and that was the defining moment. Like, just in the Premier League, where Liverpool drawing against Spurs was the defining moment where they lost the trophy. I think that game against Bologna, the game that was rescheduled from early on in the season, and they lost it, that's where the tide has turned. Like, literally, you look at the record as well: 25 wins for Inter, 26 for Milan, 4 losses for both sides, 1 draw differentiated both sides in terms of the record. If that draw went to AC Milan instead of Inter Milan, Inter would have won the title, of course. So it was also a great competition as well. Like, it was a lovely competition. It was a 3-way between them and Napoli until a couple of months ago. That Napoli had a bad patch of form and they really left that title race. And now it was Milan and Inter Milan fighting for it. And it was out of Juventus. There was no Juventus to be seen, just like last season. and Milan won the Serie A in the end. Congratulations for them. One more time for Inter Milan. They won the cup, so they will be meeting AC Milan in the Supercoppa just before the start of next season. It was going to be really, really amazing to watch. Elsewhere, of course, in the Serie A on Friday was Torino. Playing Roma. Roma defeated Torino 3-0 to guarantee a place in the Europa League anyway. They play a Conference League final against Feyenoord, so they really have two options, but I think the Europa Conference League will be a bonus now for Mourinho and his side, who did a good job, did a solid job with Roma this season, particularly with Tammy Abraham, of course, who was again on the day scoring for Roma. It was 2 goals from him on the day. Really, he absolutely, one of the best players of the Serie A this season. He's the 4th top scorer of the season after Ciro Immobile, Dusan Vlahovic, and Lautaro Martinez. On Saturday, it was Genoa versus Bologna. Bologna defeated Genoa 1-0 away from home. Of course, Genoa already relegated, so the game was really about finishing the season on a good note, but they didn't. Atalanta lost to Empoli 1-0, so they'll be out of Europe next season. Which is really sad personally for me, because I loved watching Atalanta play in Europe. They had a really good story about them, and they're really a side that deserves sympathy, I think, and support from all the fans around the world. On Saturday as well, Fiorentina defeated Juventus 2-0 to guarantee themselves a place in the Conference League next season. Again, also another place that you would want to see Fiorentina in, because they played Europa League football before and Champions League football before. But you would think, they will take what they have, since they lost to Vlahovic mid-season, and try to make up for that. And they lost a lot of points, and they lost a lot of matches after that. Lazio drawn against Hellas Verona 3-3. Of course, Lazio will be playing Europa League football as well next season. Spezia lost to Napoli. Spezia, of course, survivors. They don't really care about the game. The loss wouldn't really matter for them. Napoli finished 3rd, and they play Champions League football next season. As I mentioned, Inter Milan defeated Sampdoria 3-0, but again, it was futile, and Milan, of course, winning against Sassuolo 3-0 away to win the Scudetto for the 19th time. Salernitana survived despite the loss against Udinese 4-0, but because of the result between Venezia and Cagliari, Cagliari are the ones to complete the relegation triangle in Serie A, and Salernitana will survive. It was a great story for Salernitana, who everybody wrote them off. Even their own board dismissed their chances of surviving, but in the end, Salernitana made it and are still going to be playing Serie A football next season. It is good personally for my Tunisian man, for Wajdik Shrida, who's been out of the list for a long time. For Salernitana, hopefully next season he will work hard and will earn a place in that side. Hopefully that side as a whole really has a better season next one, because I think it should be a season to forget for Salernitana, the struggles, but obviously the result is what matters, and since they are now remaining in the Serie A, it will not really make a big difference. They will look back probably fondly on those memories, but the last 2 months of form that they had, the matches that they won were really, really crucial. They had an unbelievable run leading into this final game. They were unbeatable in 7 games before that, and they had big wins to count as well, away to Sampdoria, away to Udinese. They beat Venezia. They're drawn against the likes of Cagliari, Empoli, Atalanta. They defeated Fiorentina at home, so that they are really games that defined Salernitana's season and gave them the clout to survive in the Serie A. As you mentioned, congratulations, of course, for AC Milan. Congratulations for Inter, Napoli, and Juve on Champions League football. Lazio, Roma, Europa League. Fiorentina will be playing Conference. Salernitana and Spezia on surviving, and Cagliari, Genoa, Venezia are the sides that are going to be relegated to Serie B. It was a really great season for Italian football as well in terms of the domestic competition. European-wise, Roma probably are the only side, with a chance to glorify the Italian football on European level, but I think overall, Serie A was really great this season. It was very enjoyable to watch as well. Top scorers, let's talk about the top scorers, of course. Ciro Immobile, 27, Dusan Vlahovic, 24, Lautaro, 21, Tammy Abraham, and Giovanni Simeone with 17 goals. The team, I think the teams, of course, are playing Champions League football. They have a big task to honour Italian football next season and really stamp their authority in the Champions League. Milan, with a potential new takeover from the Bahraini investment fund, maybe they'll put more money in them and really improve their status for next season. But again, one more time, congratulations for AC Milan and for Zlatan Ibrahimovic in particular at 41 years of age doing that. That's it for this episode. Like, share, comment to the YouTube version, subscribe to the YouTube channel, enable notifications to receive all the updates from these videos and all the content on the channel. Follow us on social media, and of course listen on Spotify, Google Podcast, or any other platform available. Until next time, on Thursday we'll be talking about the recap of the leagues, of course, and then on Friday it will be Champions League football and the final of the Champions League preview for the last preview of the season in the Champions League. Take care and goodbye.